You can see me. Hey, welcome to my playtest. There's a couple additional things. That was dumb. So I'm not gonna be playtesting a build because I'm scared. I've been traumatized by the black screen. But fortunately, people who are more intelligent than myself are taking on that issue, which is great. Just gonna try and play through it pretty much. I feel like I end up rambling and playing quite badly, so I'm gonna try and play well. Because apparently now it's too hard, and I kind of want to defend the difficulty level that it currently is at. Oh, wait, need to get the sound up. But the idea also is that the game will get a bit easier, but in a more fun kind of way, with the spin attack and the dash. And the thing is too, like, the worm boys, which are kind of cursed because they're so fast, I'm finding that they aren't as necessary anymore because of the stamina, so you can't run forever. So it's still fun to like have the worm boys as an enemy type, but don't have to overly rely on them. I think like similar just to adding a bunch of health, or I don't know, making the enemies way weaker. I feel like there's ways to make a game harder and make a game easier, which end up making the game less fun. And I think that's something that's a good thing to avoid. So making the game harder by just adding a bunch of a really fast enemy isn't necessarily the most fun way to go about it. Because it's just a volume, it's just an amount of something. Same way like just giving the player loads more health versus giving them an actual attack move, which will help with crowd control and stuff like that. So I think like after some discussion and playtesting, we're moving in the direction of making the game fun but challenging via mechanics rather than just like completely making the game easy for the sake of on demo day it being a smoother experience in ways like in terms of them being able to experience the entire level. But if they get to experience the entire level but it's at the expense of the game being challenging in any way, then I think that kind of defeats the purpose of like what a game is. And to a degree you could argue it's subjective, and you can get games which are just walking simulators, but that's not the kind of game I would ever want to make personally. I like things that look nice, but at the same time, if there's no kind of challenge behind it, I'll just go on ArtStation or something to look at a bunch of cool models. I've slightly tweaked the lighting for the bean cans, just so they're a bit brighter. They kind of just hover above. Before there was like some strange... I think the lighting, it wasn't a point light, it was like... It almost seemed like a directional light with the cast shadows and stuff, which... I don't know, like... I apologize if that was like a design choice, but I mean it didn't seem particularly optimized, and if it's just like a little point light above, I feel like, I don't know, I think it feels more gamey, if that makes sense, because obviously just chucking like a point, like any kind of light source on top of a collectible item is like is making it gamey because it's not realistic. But then if you have it like casting shadows and it's like a really weird angle, it's almost like, you know, it's almost like having a light in the scene. It's like some kind of emissive element rather than just like an arcadey kind of signifier. So hopefully people don't mind that change. Even when you move it, it kind of looks like the light fluctuates in brightness, which is a nice effect. I don't think it's by design. I think it's just the way maybe the fog volume kind of interacts with that light. So another thing is been adding a few more campfires. So before there was never a campfire here. So now that I've walked into this on death, hopefully I don't die, but if I die, then I'll arrive back at that point. This is a quick thing, but yeah, I haven't quite changed the Hatterchurchatron to the Playtest Hatterchurchatron, but that shouldn't take too long. Coming up to just in the distance there, you can see the church. Probably took like between 10 and 15 hours to make. But I think it makes for a nice kind of almost like a centerpiece to this first bottom half of the level. And I've kind of made it also that you can platform onto it. So not just as it acts as, you know, a set piece or just a building, but kind of you're interacting slightly more directly with it because you're platforming on it rather than just kind of like walking around it.
To 1,000 settlements, your putrid bowels.
I saw you tucking into beans earlier. Definitely you.
I guess the overlapping voice lines is still a thing. But yeah, I'm pretty excited to hear all the voice lines and stuff, because right now there's like a massive backlog of different voice lines and stuff, but still haven't got to hear the majority of them. Only the two that are triggered when you fart, but a big one will be the voice acting of Odious Keith. So like here, I think I'll probably like remove at least one of the speed boys, because again, the stamina system means that you can't run indefinitely. Added a little gate. Oh yeah, I could have shown on the other side, but the way the gate has been modeled is they're two separate pieces, so that at the end of the level, once you retrieve the key, they will hopefully have a little animation where they turn and open, just to kind of reinforce the idea that you've got to the end of the level. But like, it would be cool, like, it's a shame, you know, this game is coming to an end of production in a way, because with stuff like the gates being animated on the hinge, kind of being animated to open, I don't know why. Stuff like that, once it's kind of implemented once, I feel like you could pretty easily replicate it for different areas. And really, I think this game is quite static. Like quite a few of the other teams' games that I've played, they have a lot more kind of like moving level elements and animated traps and doors that open and close. And I think it just, you know, makes the game feel more alive and interactive. Just gonna stop to fart 1 second.
Bench of 1,000 cesspits.
I saw you tucking into beans earlier.
Again here, I don't know. This is kind of, I think I might keep this in just because it's a fun thing where you're incentivized to platform because of the worm boys. And hopefully Actually, I'll just come back up here. So hopefully, like when you get here, it's kind of like this bonfire at the end of this kind of lane acts as like signposting for direction, because hopefully the player has read the tutorial gravestone that says that you'll respawn at bonfires. So they, you know, they know they're on the right track if they go down here. Yeah, so at the next bonfire, and just peeking through those gravestones is the new Hatterchurchatron model / textures, which I'm excited to show off a little bit more in gameplay. Obviously, if you made it through the really long video before, you can see it, but obviously it's the game and it's a lot cooler if you can see it moving around. And that texture resolution is actually really weirdly low. I have a feeling someone's changed the overall settings of the textures. It's not a big deal. But anyway, yeah, so this is the... Probably gonna get killed if I try and get another angle, but here's the church model. Pretty happy with it. I think some of the emissive textures on the windows are a little bit messy. If I was to do it again, I'd probably create a mask based on the window geometry rather than kind of like painting it on by eye. I think there's ways of doing that in Maya, and it would just, yeah, I mean, it's not too bad, but in certain places it looks a little bit crusty, almost. It looks almost like aliasing, even though it's technically not. And yeah, it's kind of nice, like before, without the lights on the bean cannons, you wouldn't really know that they were dotted around this graveyard, but now you're more incentivized to explore this area. I think they're just, yeah, I set it to the lights to bake, so, actually no, I set it to not cast shadows just because there's quite a lot of them. I think having a point like cast shadows did have some effect on the performance, and I don't mind it too much. Like, it kind of bleeds through some of the geometry, but it's not too bad. It's almost like the gravestones have like surface scattering, which would be kind of weird if you think about it. Yeah, it's a bit frustrating. Like, I think a lot of other people have had trouble with the platforming, which is down to me. I think that it's down to me in the sense that, yeah, so they're quite difficult, right? But I think some of the feedback was that, like, you didn't, like, when you jump and land, you kind of slide a little bit, and so you kind of have to get used to that. I think that's probably the most tricky thing. But the thing is, like, I obviously designed these platforming puzzles based on the mechanics, so at the end of the day it was an oversight from me. But I guess because I playtested the game a lot, I was already kind of used to it. Damn, he's fast. I'm just gonna come back down here to show that I've blocked off this route, and this is mainly to push you in the direction of the Hatterchurchatron, which I kind of imagine is like a bit of a boss fight. But so you can actually come through here to get to it, but as you walk down, hopefully you will notice that there's a bunch of bean cans here, which you wouldn't actually be able to access if you came through straight away. I'm on 23 bean cans, so it's not like the end of the world if I don't get them, but I'll still get them just to show what that's like.
Your rectum, your putrid bowels.
Connie, that was definitely you.
And there's a couple. Oh yeah, I made another variant of the urchins called a speed chin, and they're really fast as well, and they stab really fast. But it's kind of interesting because if you don't move and you're on like level terrain, then they can't actually stab you. It's only if you kind of move into them and then they'll kill you really quickly. It was kind of an oversight, but I kind of like the way it works because yeah, they can kind of catch you out, but if you stay perfectly still, it's almost like you're holding, you know, like you get like funny thing where it's like if you're holding the head of a short person as they're trying to fight you, it kind of feels like that. I think I'll be able to replicate it here. Yeah, like as soon as you walk into the whoa! That so much damage.
Cesspits.
There should be a one hit.
I saw you tucking into beans earlier.
But yeah, it's surprisingly hard to fight them. Oh, let's come back here. Surprisingly hard to fight them on that roof.
Your rectum, your putrid bowels.
Connie, that was definitely you.
And kind of, I guess, the idea as well with the wall, that my kind of canonical, like, I don't know if that's the right word, like in-universe reason for it is like the urchins have been kind of like barricading off this village slowly, that you can't get to the top where the key to the Mortfair estate is. So yeah, that's just a little explanation of that. Little bastard. And there's Hatterchurchatron down there with a hideously large health. I think he's been changed to do more damage, which I don't mind. I think that's cool. Especially because the respawn is just there, so it's like if you die, then it's not like a massive trek back to fight him. And I do kind of like the aesthetic of walking down into this grave from here rather than going through the little gap in the fence. Yeah, you kind of just have to commit, pretty much. Like you could try and run away, but and yeah, I'm kind of happy about the way it looks with the emission maps on the eyes. Kind of hard to see the health. He's so tall. Oh god, see that was like half.
Bench of 1,000 cesspits.
I think when
I saw you tucking into beans earlier.
Get around. Need some stamina back. One idea. Oh god.
Your rectum, your putrid bowels.
Connie, that was definitely you.
Oh no! I didn't again. I was waiting for them to stop. One solution to
I
the
saw
like,
you tucking
overlapping stuff
into
is
beans
like
earlier.
and maintaining a degree of like novelty with the voice acting for the twins would be to one idea someone had was to make it only play like 1 in 4 times, which I think is a good idea.
Your rectum, your putrid
Well, yeah, just kind of
bowels.
randomize it to a degree.
That was definitely you.
Cool. Saw him dead. But yeah, I don't know. I'm pretty happy with this dude. I think I might have mentioned before, but 37 individual textures took a while to do. Whereas the church was just a singular piece of geometry. And even though it took a while, at the end of the day, it's just one high resolution texture map, which means that once you import the mesh and the textures in, it's just a one-time gig, and it leaves a lot less room for error when there's just a single asset to deal with. Whereas some of the limbs and stuff were having some visual glitches, but they only showed up actually when you import it into the engine. I think it got through like 20 separate iterations of the Hatterchurchatron. So it was refreshing just to work on the church. And although modularity would be cool with the church, honestly I couldn't be particularly bothered, and also because it's kind of a set piece element, I feel like it kind of stands out if it's just a singular asset that doesn't have like variations of it dotted around the map. And also I think you can bake a lot more like nice like ambient occlusion into it if it's just a singular asset. Because if I, like with the shack modules, because they were modular, it meant that you couldn't make the different modules interact with each other in the bake, because otherwise individually you would get a lot of artifacts like where the stuff like the ambient occlusion would be baked onto the different assets, but as soon as you move them around, then that detail just wouldn't make any sense. I think like in future one way around that to kind of go in between baking more stuff into an asset but also having modularity and variations in buildings would be, I feel like, to create like a what's it called again? A smart texture like for the initial build of the modules. And then kind of just use that generally for the building, so you don't have to do it again and again and again. And then just do different compositions, say like 3 or 4 different compositions of the modules, and then bake all of the nice lighting and stuff into those variations. Even though the freedom of having modules is nice within engine.
To 1,000 cesspits.
I saw you tucking into beans earlier.
I do really like the mechanic that the suicide urchins stun you, because obviously you can stun enemies with the bat, so it feels almost like a taste of your own medicine when you're getting stunned by the enemies. Little trap. I think for I kind of like the once the prefabs were designed to only spawn in a close vicinity, so you could be more intentional with the placement, and with the kind of distance, the view distance of the enemies and stuff like that. Like I started to really enjoy creating almost like traps where you walk up to here to get the bean cans, but then the worm boys were behind it. But I feel like I've kind of abused that, because in this area that happens, and then pretty much the exact same thing happens here, and it feels slightly repetitive. So I think I'm gonna swap out these speed boys for urchins, and it kind of makes more sense as well because it's an urchin camp. But I'm just gonna trigger this respawn point in the Worm Boy cave. And luckily,
Your rectum, your putrid bowels.
Golly, that was definitely you.
Making the Yeet Boy slightly smaller seems to have fixed a lot of the glitches. It still happens sometimes with the Worm Boys, but it's not as prevalent anymore, which is good.
End of 1,000 cesspits.
I saw you tucking into beans earlier.
So let's see if I can do this first time, because I think this is probably the hardest platforming. Nope. It's funny too, because last time it was a mesh problem. But now I have no excuse for being bad at it. But I don't think I am too bad at it. I think I should be able to get in the next couple tries at least. Damn it!
Your rectum, your putrid bowels.
Connie, that was definitely you.
Okay, we're on the first bit. Hey! Oh. So that's weird. When the camera goes through... Oh, I think I know what that is. So I think it's called something like occlusion culling or something, and it's been implemented, thankfully, to alleviate some of the processing and improve performance. But it seems like when the camera clips through the geometry, it kind of tricks that system, that technology to cull the geometry, because it thinks we can't see it. I don't think that's the end of the world. It's just good to know. Maybe there is a fix. I mean, I suppose there would be a fix somewhere, but to me it's not game breaking. It looks a bit shit, but it's only happened once this playthrough for me personally, so. No! Oh! Hey! What the fuck? Is that one in the... Hey! He's burrowed into this cliff. Must have accidentally placed him inside or moved the cliff to trap him. That's cool, he can stay there.
End of 1,000 cesspits.
I saw you tucking into beans earlier.
And the reason why I put so many there is because it's the hardest one. But let's see. Let's focus. Oh! Okay. Run right to that corner. Hey! Okay. Absolutely stacked with beans, mate. It's gonna be farting all night long. And I did a tiny bit of work on the final area now that the... Oh. That's not good. Okay. Yeah, gotta fix that. Yeah, now that the new Hatterchron's done, I've been a bit more motivated to do the final area. Obviously, I've still been working on the game and stuff, but it feels more appropriate to work on it once the main attraction of that area is in. Yeah, there's a bloody urchin up there, that old fucker. Get out of my way! I can't remember if I put a bonfire just outside of the urchin camp on the other side of this impasse, so I'll have to check. Just love to like drop down and do a spin attack on them. That'd be quite nice. Oh, okay, yeah, great. So there is one there. I don't think it's really been, doesn't have much going on in terms of logs or anything, but it'll do the job. Hopefully, I activated the spawning aspect of it. So yeah, this is definitely...
Your rectum, your putrid bowels.
Connie, that was definitely you.
I haven't really even bothered to playtest this last area in ages, so... Not going in blind necessarily, but with this kind of composition of enemies and shit, we shall see how it feels. Into the final area. So I'm thinking it's probably best... Whoa! Oh yeah, the suicide. They didn't stun me. Maybe it's the randomization.
1,000 cesspits.
I think it would be better to have it
I
so
saw you tucking into beans
stun
earlier.
every time. Whoa! Wait. Don't know. Okay. Don't know what.
Your rectum,
I don't know
your
why.
putrid bowels.
Connie, that was definitely you.
Oh, I'm stunned.
1,000
No.
cesspits.
Yeah, I don't know why that.
I saw you tucking
shark
into
is
beans
flicking.
earlier.
I might take a look at the overall resolution. It looks to be maybe like 75%. Oh! At least we got a lot of health. Just give me a second. Whoa! Hello, bud. I think it'd be awesome to have like some intense music here as well. Because right now it's all fairly just like chill ambient music.
Your rectum, your putrid bowels.
Connie, that was definitely you.
Cool, so in theory we would have got the key. That's another thing that has yet to be done. It's getting to a point now where I think I might make some placeholders because it's so important that we have it, and it's the kind of thing that for programming reasons it's pretty good just to chuck a kind of placeholder in there. And yeah, I think generally what I've observed is things kind of happen more quickly if there's some kind of object, even a placeholder, that can then have the code attached to it. Yeah, recently, since doing the Hatterchurchatron, I've been enjoying adding emissive textures to stuff. So, well, I thought it might be awkward, but because I created the shacks on my laptop and a lot of the files and stuff are on there. But luckily, I was just able to. Whoa! It's the first time an urchin's done that. But I was able just to pull the damn, why does it keep disappearing? The window models from Unreal, even though I thought there might be a chance that you wouldn't be able to create texture maps from it after importing it because all of the quads get turned into triangles. Although now that I think about it, the texture maps themselves would be the same shape. It would just probably be not ideal to edit the geometry once it's in engine. Yeah, because stuff like edge loops and whatnot are kind of lost when it's triangulated or whatever. And am I just too far away from the fire? That's a shame. The fire in the center of this area is not... Yeah. So yeah, this little playtest that feels like probably more of an appropriate length of video, since I wasn't getting sent back to the beginning every 10 minutes. I think we have like, what is it today? Tuesday. So we have like 3 more days. It's gonna be interesting. I'm trying to go into crunch mode a little bit. I've stopped like doing some of my daily shit, like working out, just to get some more time in this week to work on the game. I'm going full gamer, game dev nerd with it. But yeah, I'm just out of morbid curiosity gonna check the resolution. Oh, full res. It's set to fantastic. But that's so weird because I imported the church textures at like 8K. So it shouldn't look this bad. I'll have to look into that. Well, you know, the texture maps are 4K, but the high resolution sculpt bake was 8K, which I don't think necessarily is exported, but I think I don't know. Maybe it's just optional because no, it probably does affect things actually now that I think about it, but obviously it's an option for performance wise. Yes, it's kind of my ritual always before I push anything. Say goodbye to the fog. And it's funny too because people were saying it's harder to work with fog implemented, but because there's some degree of like lighting that the fog provides, without it's just like seems really dark to me. It's harder to see where things are. But then I guess the argument would be just increase the intensity of the whatever it is. Is it point? No, directional light. Yeah, I think so. And I always forget to clean up everything as well. Has everything been opened? So I've actually added where are the main folders even? Okay, the map. Well, you don't need to see this. It's just me going through the hierarchy and just putting everything into the folders. But yeah, that's a little playtest. Bye bye.